ITNation Connect 2024 was last week. It's the Monday after. Huge success. Largest MSP event of the year. So many new announcements. So many new exciting things going on. We had a great time. We had Podcasters Row for the first time ever at an MSP event, by the way, not just ITNation, where we had 9 podcasters set up in their own area, in a high traffic area, just having conversations with attendees, MSPs, with vendors, with ConnectWise staff. Just a wonderful event. Ushering the new CEO, Manny Ravello, as Jason McGee exits, and lots of great new product announcements. I personally had a speaking session there as well, which was a great success. How to help MSPs in sales and marketing with podcasting. There was great after parties with Universal and Stone Temple Pilots, and Tony Hawk spoke, and it was an incredible event. We recorded many conversations, and the following is one of the conversations, and they were all great. It was a high traffic area, so they might be a little noisy, but just a great event. I encourage everyone to consider going to it. Thanks so much for listening.
Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. I found myself at 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. I took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People ask me, how'd you do it? What's the secret? I need to lose weight. How'd you do it? How did I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport. What's the transition of going from Australia to Tampa like?
The transition from Australia to Tampa, that's a good question.
Yes, what's the transition been like?
Look, for me personally, like my wife and I, we've always loved to travel. So we've been together nearly 20 years, and the first 10 of those we spent traveling around the world, Asia, Europe, Australia, obviously. Did a little bit of America about 10 years ago. So for my wife and I, we were pretty excited about the move. The biggest challenge that we had was we've got 3 young children. So, uprooting them and bringing them over to a foreign land, that was a challenge.
How old?
So at the time it was 6, 4, and 2. So obviously family, friends, schools, completely new. So that was the initial challenge, but I kind of had an idea of how hot Florida got in the summertime. So I may have undersold it to my wife because we got here in November. It was around this time actually 2 years ago.
November's a great time.
Well, it's the perfect time,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we got here this time 2 years ago, and we sort of eased our way into it. And then by the time I think it was ITNation Evolve in August of 2023, things started to get real for my wife especially. She's got the Scottish, Irish background, so she's quite fair. So that humidity and the heat that you get in Tampa in summer, she wasn't having any of it. And she's like, what the hell have you done? Get me the hell out of here, right? So at that stage, I'm spinning, trying to look at different places.
Were
in the
you
States.
really? It was that bad?
I'm like, Denver's beautiful.
Sure.
This is great. Maybe Virginia or Tennessee. So we were at that stage about 6 or 9 months in, and then we came back. Kids went back to school, and by then it was like, all right, we've put roots down. Tampa's our home, so let's just find air conditioning every summer from here on in.
Because Australia's dry; it's not humid at all.
Well, it depends where you live. So where we're from, we're on the east coast, about 2 hours south of Sydney. So we get like all 4 seasons there. If you want to go north, like North Queensland, Northern Territory, West Australia, North, you're going to get that same humidity and the heat that you get down here in Florida.
Yeah, it's a big shift. But Australians just generally travel. What is it? You're forced to take like 6 weeks off a year?
I think it's more than that,
Is it
Joe.
2 months?
Yeah, I think we take half the year off, like
But it's
according to
called
the
something.
American.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's called something. An Australian referred it to something, and I didn't know what he meant.
Yeah,
Work.
so after 10 years of being at a company, you get what's called long service leave. And that's
Ah,
where you get, multiple weeks off
I see.
paid. So, yeah, but typically, we can get 4 to 6 weeks off
Yeah, 4 to 6.
a
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, so generally, naturally, Australians travel. I spent a decent amount of time in Europe, and there's always Australians around.
Yeah, I think it's because of just the nature of being an island country.
Mm,
A lot of the people in Australia have backgrounds from Europe.
right.
My grandparents were both, all four of them came from Europe. So everyone's sort of got a bit of an affinity to go
Mm,
back and see,
mm.
part of that, their upbringings. But certainly internally in Australia, like America, it's a huge country. There's a lot to do and see there as well.
Yeah, there certainly is. So we're here, James, at ITNation Connect in Orlando. There's 7,000 attendees here. It's absolutely crazy. What are some of your goals this week?
Oh, well, like the goals this week, it's to continue on the great work that we've been doing as a business. We're a couple of years in now as a platform, and I feel like we've done the groundwork. So now there's a lot of excitement, a lot of partners. We're serving hundreds of partners in this community, and they're coming back and having these conversations. So it's about like bringing this, the hype that's AI, it's automation, bringing it out there to the people and showing what's capable. Manny gave a great speech
He
at the
did last
keynote.
night. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was shaping the way forward. He believes in this technology and wants to push it forward. Our CTO, Aaron, and Joey, our CEO, they're speaking on stage now about AI being, what's available now and the future, what we can do. So I'm excited by the conversations that we're having here in the hallways with other vendors, with other partners, and I want to continue that excitement and
Mm.
the push for AI and automation into this space.
What should MSPs know about PIA? Like you said, you've been around for a few years now. MSPs certainly know the name.
Well, it's funny you say that, Joe, because the first question I ask when someone comes up to our booth or comes to a meeting is, "What do you know about Pia?" And
Mm.
it's still not a lot of people
Right.
are across what we do. So that for me is an opportunity. It's
Mm.
exciting.
Mm.
So what they need to know, I guess, really high level on the cliff notes is, we were born out of an MSP, one of the largest MSPs in Australia,
That's right.
Virtual IT Group.
That's
So
right.
the only reason we exist is because we were solving a business problem. And that business problem is exactly what Manny talked about last night.
Mm.
You look at your cost of goods sold, you've got your technology stack, and then you've got your labor, which his numbers were 75% of the COGS, right? So we knew really quickly that if we can solve that equation or eat into that equation,
Wow.
we're going to become a lot more profitable, a lot more scalable, a lot more successful as an MSP. And that's exactly what we went around solving for. We built amazing AI technology, training it up at that Alpha MSP. We built a small language model, and we've trained it up with over 1 million tickets.
Hmm.
So, funnily enough, tomorrow there's going to be a speech by our CTO. I gave ChatGPT 50,000 tickets, and this is the
Oh,
result,
that's right.
right? So people are thinking AI is going to solve all of our problems, but the reality is you really need to be specific in what this technology is doing, and that's why our tech is specifically built out for the MSP space, and then
Mm.
automating the problems and the tickets on the help desk to make the technician's life easier, your client's life easier, by getting that quick, consistent resolution of tickets,
Mm.
closing them faster.
James, were you at the MSP?
Absolutely, yeah. So I ran sales and growth there at that MSP. So
Ah.
I saw directly the impact that it was having because every 200 to 300 endpoints that we would grow in new clients, we were throwing bodies at the desk, bodies at the desk.
Right.
So
Right.
as our revenue grew, which is great, everyone loves winning business and growing the business. Our bottom line expenses was tracking in the same linear fashion, which meant our EBITDA was flatlining.
Wow.
It was consistently doing the same EBITDA year on year. So now we've broken that mold. So instead of having an endpoint per tech ratio, which is one of the ones that we used to follow, we would True Methods, MSP for many years, so I love all those
Gary
metrics.
Pico, yeah.
We saw our endpoint per tech ratio skyrocket to now it's well over 400 endpoints per tech in a lot of those pods that is in that MSP. And the impact that that has on your EBITDA is significant,
Right.
right? I was on stage with an MSP a couple of weeks ago at a Robin Robbins event, and Todd Clark was sharing his story there, and he said his endpoint per tech ratio has gone from 190 endpoints per tech, and he had a goal to get to 300 this year. He shared with the community, it's now at 357 endpoints per tech.
Wow.
And the impact on his EBITDA, which he also shared to the community, went from 13%. This is all services based, recurring MRR, 13% EBITDA, which is pretty standard for an
Sure.
MSP. Now it's up to 24%.
Wow.
So those sorts of impacts it's life changing for an
Yeah.
MSP owner,
Yeah.
right? That's transformative.
Yeah, it sure is. And that must be real rewarding when that happens.
I love nothing more because the reason why I'm in this space to start off with, like I'm not from the MSP or IT space at my roots. I came from an accounting and investment background and business
Ah.
background, and I partnered with you know Christian, the founder of Virtual IT Group, good friend of mine
Yeah.
from high school and primary school
Huh.
or elementary school.
Is he here?
He's not.
Huh.
He's a busy man.
Yes, he is.
But
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah.
we both had a passion for business. So by seeing other business owners being successful in their business, that gives us a big kick, right? That's why we're doing what we're doing. Like the mission that we're on is to make the MSP community more profitable, if you want to put it really simply, because we know that the good work that this community does, it basically is the backbone of a lot of the SMB community,
Yeah,
which
sure
drives the
is.
economy. If we can make them more profitable, more scalable, more strong as a community, we're all benefiting from it at the end of the day.
Yeah, we certainly are. So your message, to MSPs, you have a booth here. There's all these MSPs here. There's lots of vendors. There's 160 vendors there,
Yeah,
So
it's awesome. I love it.
there's a lot. So how do you kind of differentiate from others? And your message to MSPs to help them is?
So you're right. There's a lot of technology out there, Joe, and that's exciting, but it can be overwhelming.
Sure
I
can.
get that.
Yeah.
So our message has been really simple. We're built by MSPs for MSPs. We're tried and tested. We've got hundreds of partners now out there in the community that are benefiting from the technology that we've got in here. And, look, I love that there's startups and they're going for it and they're coming into the space, and we welcome that, obviously. But I guess if you're wanting something to differentiate us with, we've been around the block, a few times now with this technology.
Right.
We've been building this. I joke, Aaron, our CTO, he started playing around with AI and machine learning before ChatGPT made it cool, right?
Wow.
Back in 2018. So, we've been doing this for a while, and the success that we've got in the runs on the board, shows that.
And and you've been around for a while. That's the important thing, James, because we see some vendors kind of come in and then not show up for a couple of years. But you've been very consistent, and it's there, and everybody knows the purple, and everybody knows, PIA, and I think that's real important. Has there been anything in the last month or so, 6 weeks, that you changed your mind on?
Yeah, look, that's a good question. In terms of the last 4 to 6 weeks, I can't say that we have, Joe, to be honest.
How about you personally?
Me personally, I mean, we've just had the election this week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of thoughts going into
Yes,
that,
yes.
wondering which way we go, because that's on the top of everyone's mind, especially
Yes.
business owners trying to make a business decision, right?
Economy.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But I guess, so me personally, obviously there's those sorts of things going on. But from a business perspective, one of the things that I'm really proud of, our company embracing is, at the start of this year, we brought on a CEO, Joe Todd.
Yes, well.
Well known, well respected individual in the MSP community. And before that, obviously we knew what we had. We had great technology, we had great people. But what Joey's been able to do is really get us clear on the vision, on the mission. We don't want to be out there trying to boil the ocean, doing all this fringe stuff. We're very specific around what it is that we're trying to do and solve for, and that's inch wide, mile deep on the help desk. We know there's so much work and so much value that we can add to that help desk of the MSP and the knock-on effects that it's going to have, which is what we talked about earlier. So we're going to keep going hard and going strong on that help desk, and you can see that in our latest releases of AI triage, AI auto start, AI auto response. So using the technology to, again, streamline that ticket journey to make it easier, more consistent, and more efficient for the help desk. So that hasn't changed. That's been something that we've got really focused on this year.
So James, I don't know if you know my story. I started my MSP in the 90s, was working way too hard, 14-hour days, putting personal health in the rear seat, got myself up to 340 pounds. Just poor diet, not exercising. Doctor says to me, if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate.
Yeah.
Scared me.
Scary,
right?
for
Scared. So I'm
sure.
driving home, punching the steering wheel. I said,
Yeah.
what have I done? This is my pie hole. I did this to myself. I'm going to get myself out. Next 6-7 months, I lost 130 pounds, and I kept it off. You can't look at it as a finishing line, right? You got
Yeah.
to make permanent changes. People say, oh, you lost weight. What's your quick answer? What's your secret? And there's no secret, Chase. It's discipline.
Discipline.
That's how I lost it.
Discipline,
Focus,
absolutely.
willpower, etc. How does discipline play a role in your life?
That's a great question. So, look, I was fortunate enough to have an entrepreneurial father. So he was a hard worker throughout my whole life. And he taught me, we didn't come from anything. So his parents actually were immigrants from Britain. They were what's called the 2-pound Poms. So they came over on the boat. They landed in Berkeley, which is south of Sydney, in the hostels. And then from there, they had to, raise a family, had 4 kids, and my dad was one of them. So he taught me from an early age, like, nothing's given to you. If you want to get anything and succeed at life, you've got to work hard for it. And discipline is one of those core tenets of that.
Wow.
It's one of the words that I've actually written up and stuck on the mirror.
Really?
When we're going through some of those, lulls, and you need to have that focus because, you said it right, like, you can have these miracle diets or these pills or whatever, but unless you've got the discipline and fortitude to execute time in, time out, it's like having a gym membership and not lifting the weights, right? So that's a powerful one. That's been sort of
Yeah.
drilled into my head at an
It's
early
really
age.
cool. You put it up. You look at it often. Yeah, some people have a very kind of militant description of discipline, and there's no wrong answer. Here's the great thing,
Yeah.
James, right? There's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
But self-discipline, and I have this ongoing theory that it's a spectrum of about 10 elements. I actually wrote it up, book to be released in the spring. But it's a great topic of conversation. What motivates you, James?
Yeah. What motivates me? My family. So, I sometimes you think it might be easier, like if you just want to look after yourself. Like we just went through these hurricanes
Yeah.
right here in Tampa, and this is a good example of that. Like if it was just me by myself, like, all right, I got this. I can jump on a roof
That's right.
if it gets
That's me
bad,
too,
like
yeah.
whatever. But when you've got like a wife and 3 young kids to look about, and they looking up to you for answers
Right.
and responsibility, like that whole
It
shift
does.
changes
It
completely.
does.
Like it
It
just
does.
gets yourself just gets washed away, and now you're looking after these people, and so that motivates me. It's obviously the family, and then my wife Katie, she's been on my journey and supported me throughout the whole thing, from an entrepreneur back in my old business through the transition into the IT space, which frankly I had no idea about, and then I've had to learn and grow into this space, which has been a fantastic journey. So she motivates me day in and day out because I call my rock, right? Sure, a lot of people would say that about their spouses, but she certainly is for me and my core motivation.
Yeah, your family. So given that motivation, James, how do you measure success?
That's another great question. And success is tough, right? Success, people think, is happiness. But if I see, for me, a great measure of success is seeing my kids look at the world and look at problems and challenges and try and overcome them themselves
Yeah.
with some of the values that my wife and I have instilled on them. And when you, instead of jumping in and trying to solve it for them, you sort of step back and have a look at these little humans solving these problems. You're like, huh, I see what you did there, and that was really cool. Like how she's asked question, or how he's looked at the problem this way. So seeing that sort of come out in the kids is great. So it's again, I'm a bit boring in that aspect.
Not
It's
at
all about
all. It's
about
wonderful.
family, man.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't have a good base and a good foundation, how are you going to be functional everywhere else?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I was saying, like you're on the road, you know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
being out on the road. This is the silly season. Like it's 4 weeks straight, pretty much with events. So it starts to stretch a little much,
Yeah.
with especially with the kids because they don't completely grasp it. My eldest now, she's 9. She actually came up to me and said something that will break your heart. She said,
Uh,
"Dad, I really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing to, give us the life that we've got over here." And that sort of takes you back a little bit.
yeah.
And but that's the challenge that we all are running with and trying to navigate, right?
Certainly so. James Allen, I appreciate you so much. I can't wait to see what you do in the future. I look forward to working with you, and lots of luck to you here at the event.
Joey P, it's been brilliant. It's been a pleasure jumping on. Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much. Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.